Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. This is a prelude to the teaching that will be next week. Stay posted for the dating of that presentation. Nonetheless, it will involve the matter as addressed last night on the teaching of the book of Joel, chapter 1, and Nahum, chapter 3. As pointed out last night in the presentation, and thank you to the people who have subscribed to the channel recently. We went over the fact, brothers and sisters, about locusts, caterpillar, palmer worm, and how those things represented in Joel chapter 1, the Assyrian kings. When we, next week, again, stay please posted on the channel for the dating of the presentation. We want to discuss the locusts and what locusts do and how it was compared to the Assyrian kings and what happened to the northern and southern kingdom of Israel and Judah, respectively. Brothers and sisters, last night's presentation was regarding the fact that America is not the land where the land of Israel is. Naming certain cities in America, such as Salem, such as Jericho, does not mean, brothers and sisters, that the land here in the West is the Holy Land. All they did was take names that's biblical and put it to American cities. The Hebrew artifacts found in places such as in Puerto Rico, such as in Ohio, such as in New Mexico, does not mean that the Holy Land is over here in the West. What it means is Hebrews, in this case Israelites, did migrate over to the Western Hemisphere. We want to touch on the diaspora and get into the book of Ezra, chapter 13 in the Apocrypha, and expound upon that if we will. Again, stay tuned to the channel to get the dating on when the next presentation will be. Brothers and sisters, again, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. The next aspect as to why this prelude is being done right now is because of a plague, a Magefa, if we will, that has come into the house of Israel via online or otherwise. Because you cannot explain the rivers. You cannot explain the Mediterranean Sea being over here in the Western Hemisphere. As pointed out, what people have done is look to places in the East, saw something about it, then saw something here in the West, and then said, oh, this must be truly it. Maybe some people, and there's no disrespect intended, were in America too long. I'm 41 years old, and this is not a verbal autobiography. I was born in the Bronx, raised in Brooklyn mostly throughout my early childhood, moved back to the Bronx, moved to Queens, got my very first place in Brooklyn, had a place in Queens, lived in New Jersey, lived in different states, lived in North Carolina, lived in South Carolina, pretty much the East Coast of the United States for 40 something years. And even with all that, if we will, brothers and sisters, coming to the understanding of Israel, we cannot say that this land here in the West is where the true land of Israel is at. We want to get into this subject matter. There is prophecies that are ignored when saying that the land here in America is where the true land of Israel is at. Prophecies in the book of Ezekiel that talk about Edom and how Edom wanted the land of Israel unto themselves. Geography is ignored because it speaks about how Judah lived by Edom. You are going to have to identify where is the land of the Ammonites. You're going to have to identify where, brothers and sisters, is the Hinnom Valley that it talks about in the book of Jeremiah. Now, I want to state I have never been to the land of Israel in the East. I have never even been into the continent of Africa. But brothers and sisters, from the studies done, books, teachers, and some videos, if we will, one feels comfortable and confident before the Most High to state good and well, if we will, that the land of Israel is in the East. Last night, I didn't go over this particular aspect, but I will now in showing this. All right. This picture right here from Assyria shows Ashur Bani Pal. What you're looking at right here are lions, brothers and sisters. These lions, if we will, brothers and sisters, is similar to the lions that Assyria described in the book of Jeremiah. Last night, we did not go over this particular aspect, if we will, showing the people of Lachish of Judah being brought into the Assyrian province, as we read in the book of Isaiah 36. I want to read this. This is called the Hezekiah Prism. And this is Sennacherib speaking about Hezekiah that we read of in the book of Kings in the Bible. And it says this: as for Hezekiah of Judah, who did not submit to my yoke, 46 of his strong walled cities, as well as innumerable walled cities, small cities, in their neighborhood, I besieged with scaling ladders, siege engines, infantry, breaches, mines, and tunneling, and I conquered them. Himself, this is saying Sennacherib speaking of Hezekiah, himself I shut up like a caged bird in his royal city of Jerusalem. I threw up earthworks against him, and whoever came out of the city gates was made to pay for their crimes. Those of his cities which I had plundered, I cut off from his land and diminished his land. I increased his former tribute and exacted a yearly tax in acknowledgement of my sovereignty. But as for Hezekiah, he was intimidated by the splendor of my power. So, brothers and sisters, he goes on to also speak about Jerusalem. All right, somebody wrote in, shalom to you too, OTT. They ignore all prophecies when we're supposed to get back to the land. As a matter of fact, all the scriptures they use can be dismantled in the Septuagint. All right, real quick. I'm glad that you mentioned the Septuagint. The Septuagint, for those who may or may not know, right, is a book that Ptolemy Philadelphus or Ptolemy II in the 3rd century BCE commissioned Israelites that was in Alexandria, Egypt, to go to Jerusalem, get their records, and then go back to Alexandria and to write what we, as the person there, I don't know if the elder or not, OTT. So I'm gonna just say the person mentioned the Septuagint in the comment section. That can be proven. I have a copy of the Septuagint myself. Thank the Most High. Nonetheless, if we will, brothers and sisters, we focused last night in a matter of historical matters in doing that particular teaching. Next time, again, please stay tuned to the channel to find out when the date of next week will be. And I'm saying that because we're going to be keeping in the aspect of Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, and I'm still working during the course of the week. So I don't know what date offhand, right, with everything going on. But to the people who subscribe to the channel, like press the subscribe and the bell. When we go live, you'll get the notification, if you will. So, briefly, brothers and sisters, I want to read out of this. This is the Apocrypha. Last night, we went over, if we will, about Israelites in the land of Egypt during the timing of Jeremiah. I want to go, if we will, brothers and sisters, into Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. The brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and in the land of Judea, wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. Elohim be gracious unto you, and remember his covenant that he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his faithful servants. What does it say there? In the land of Judea and throughout Egypt. This is in Second Maccabees in the Apocrypha. It tells you in part where Israelites were at during the era of the timing of the Romans, during the era of the timing later, in the later Greek hegemony over Israel. Brothers and sisters, if we will, I want to show for edification purposes, all right, what we are talking about in parts, all right? This here has been shown again and again about the diaspora from the era when Titus of Rome and Hadrian of Rome, some 60 or so years later, and what happened with that. Brothers and sisters, this picture here is the Zenon Papyrus. The Zenon Papyrus, brothers and sisters, describes the Israelites as dark-skinned, curly hair, black eyes, rather big jaws, and uncircumcised, nose flat, protruding lips, fiery complexion, long straight hair, scar above the right eye. That's how the Zenon Papyrus describes the Israelites that was in Egypt during the time of the Ptolemy rule. Dark skin, protruding lips. It's not too hard to figure out how the Israelites looked. We went over that numerous times about that. Israelites have been talking about the matter of the prophet Moses, putting his hand in his bosom and taking it out. We are very familiar with the Israelites being what we call today as black. All right, not playing salesman, but for those who do want this book, it's available on Amazon. I say not being perfect in my whole life, but nobody can say that they paid for a book and I didn't keep them abreast and got them their book. With all the teaching, all the Hebrew, all of that. Brothers and sisters, the laws, the statutes, and the commandments of the Most High is paramount to anything. If you're living dirty, like the Greeks did, like the Romans did, like the Americans did, you have defiled your own teachings. If you're teaching on this stuff and people support you, want to encourage you, of course you got your haters. That comes with the territory. Even Solomon, the child king, the Most High said to him, because you did not ask for the lives of your enemies. So you're going to have haters. You're going to have enemies. You're going to have those who don't support. You're going to have those who try to go out of their way. As Proverbs chapter 1 says, there are people who don't rest unless they cause some to fall. There are people like that. That comes with the territory. In the street, they say if you ain't got no haters, that means you're not doing something good. So in light of that, disregarding the haters at the moment, if you got people who love and respect you, who support you, whether they fully agree with what you teach or not. But you're not living right, such as, oh, thank you for the Cash App, and then you're not giving the people the property or a refund. That's wickedness. You have defiled your teachings. The Most High is the dispenser of knowledge. It is the Most High, blessed be He, who caused a brother to be able to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. The Most High caused a brother to be able to do that. It is not to gloat, brothers and sisters. If anything, encourage your brothers and sisters to also become authors. It's not to hold anything over anyone's head. And it doesn't make you any less of a moray, of a teacher, to acknowledge the people whom the Most High set before you. Mori Yosef, may he rest in peace. Rabbi Yeshurun, may he rest in peace. Chief Simeon, may he rest in peace. Moreh Tibak, may he rest in peace. Adon Yishai, may he rest in peace. Cohen Lewi, may he rest in peace. Kohen Malkiel, may he rest in peace. And even brothers and sisters, many, many others. And those who are of my teachers who are still among us. Kohen Mikael, Nasi Kamul, and many, many others. May the Most High continue to bless and strengthen them. So, in closing this prelude out, we want to address the matter of the plague that has come to Israelites via online or so about the land of Israel being in the Western Hemisphere. It is not in the Western Hemisphere. Israelites were brought to the Western Hemisphere, besides those who came on their own volition. That doesn't mean that the land of Israel is in the Western Hemisphere. Why do we want to go into that even again, addressing the prophet Joel, chapter 1, and the prophet Nahum, chapter 3? Why do we want to go over that? Is because we want to show what the scriptures is talking about. The animals mentioned in there are not literal animals. Just as much, brothers and sisters. The Egypt in Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, is not talking about literal Egypt. Lastly, Israel, please stop teaching that Edom and Kittim became one nation. The Edomites and the people of Kittim of Japhet in the book of Joshua became one kingdom, not one nation. Because even if they mixed with each other, you still are what your father is. So with that, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth. Shalom.